Sister trying to make a way on the Vespa every day, slanging full minimum wage, cause I'm holding on to faith. Ain't no rap and out of race, feel like I'm running in place, always trying to up the pace. Thought I had
Yo, what up, y'all? Sell Prez, represent PayDay LA. We back with another edition of Run It Up, PayDay artist interviews, where we interview all our PayDay alumni and rising artists out here killing it on the scene. And your future household names, you feel me? So if you know about PayDay LA, you know our track record is pretty cool. It might be a little Usain Boltish, you feel me? But we here all the time to empower the artists and showcase the new cats that you guys should be banging on your Spotify, or better yet, buying the music. You feel me? So we're gonna get into all that right now. And I got my guest with me. It's the homie Kev Decor. Uh, Definitely a dope, multi-talented, you know what I'm saying, guy. Songwriter, artist, rapper, we're gonna get into all of that. It's a bunch of hyphenates with this, you know what I'm saying? So thanks for coming on board, Kev. How you feeling?
Good, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you, Prez. I appreciate the platform and the community that you're fostering, and shining a spotlight on the future, because there's always going to be a changing of the guard. So sooner or
Right.
later, it's going to happen. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking good though, Future's looking bright. That's why, we do PayDay and stuff. I see it all the time. And it was definitely dope coming across you and stuff. And I mean, we could get right into it, how did you get your start in? Or where are you from exactly? You from LA? Or
So
go ahead.
yes, so I'm from New Jersey,
All right.
southern New Jersey to be exact. I grew up in the Atlantic City area.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, the closest thing that people are familiar with from South Jersey is Atlantic City. So I grew up
Okay.
in that area, moved around a lot as a kid, but that was like the vicinity that I grew up in. Mom worked in the casino for ages, so
Word.
very tied into that like casino nightlife type of culture. But yeah, man, I'm from Southern New Jersey. I've been in LA for about 8 years now. I moved out here in 2017,
All
uh,
right.
specifically to grow and succeed in music. I call LA like the mecca of music. You know what I mean? Because I feel like
Word.
everything, even though hip hop and the industry happens in other places and originates from different places, I feel like it all culminates here in LA on an industry level. So it's
So
been,
you're just saying that for all music,
yeah, yeah,
Right. I can see that.
yeah. So it's been a great journey here in LA, and I love LA, man. It's been good, but I'm from the East Coast for sure.
Yeah, I know you definitely enjoy the weather change and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Things of that nature and stuff. And you still young at this, right?
Well, I've been at this for 20 years.
A
Started
word, dope.
Yeah, started at 15. I'm 35 now. And little statistic for the artists out there, that might feel like their time is running out, because
Right.
we all kind of get to that point. The majority of the top artists on the charts killing it with amazing careers are between the ages of like 32 and 40. So
That's
with the
facts.
majority of them leaning closer to 40. So I kind of feel like, even though my journey, everybody desires to kind of make it happen for themselves sooner than later, but I feel like I'm in a sweet spot. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't reached my peak as an artist yet, and I'm just now like really catching my stride in terms of like understanding the business, getting traction on the career side, and honing my craft to be the best that it could be. So
Right. Which is dope, because that's what they need to hear. They think it's overnight still to this day, especially with just the ease of access, right? They think you can literally just press the button and, from your bedroom and it's on.
and and that's a trap too, because like,
Right.
I think about this shit all the time. It's like, you know in my early 20s, I felt like I was ready. I could have
Right.
been in the same class as like the Logics, the Big Sean's, the J.
Right.
Cole's. I felt like I could have competed in that time period. But I grew so much as a person, went through so many life experiences as an artist as well. In my early mid to late 20s that, you know, finding success at 22 is hard, bro. Like it's you never think
Right.
about the other side of that coin. It's like you get over the fence, you succeed, right? Now it's like what
Hmm.
you talk about because you don't have the adult experiences that the majority of the world has. You don't know what it's like to be 32, struggling to pay your bills, having to have
Right.
a roommate, having to move across the country. For you almost kind of live a life. If you succeed early, you kind of almost live a life that is very privileged. Um,
Right. I
so,
can see that.
and it's hard to connect with the people, you know, from that life standpoint sometimes, you know.
Hmm.
So I kind of look at it as a, you know, a blessing sometimes that it's taken the time that it has.
Yeah, it's all about time, and sometimes it's not necessary to, like you said, pop off immediately without knowing all these pitfalls and stuff that you could avoid it, the more experience that we get. I know that firsthand too, so but it's always perfect timing with music because music is timeless, so that's
Yeah.
dope that now you have all of these things that you could definitely feed off of all of these experiences and
Yeah.
lessons and stuff. So I think that's dope. How did you get your start? Did you start off as an artist or did you start off as a songwriter? I know you went to school for this and everything too, right?
Yeah. So I started in 2005, like kind of like pretty much everybody else, you know,
Right.
2004, 2005, like I was freestyling at the bus stop with the
Right,
homies,
right, right,
you know,
right,
each other. And then a couple friends of mine, we kind of had some beef with like the neighboring town kids and shit. So we made a
right,
bunch of diss tracks over like G Unit beats
right,
off of
right, right.
the PC with Windows Movie Maker. So that was kind of like my first taste. And then
Okay.
me and my family, we moved to like a town that was kind of like in the middle of nowhere. And I was at a new school, didn't have any friends, any neighbors. And one day I come home from school and I'm on MySpace and I see an ad, like a little banner ad at the bottom of the page for this program called Hip Hop EJ4. And it was like a
Right.
little CD-ROM that allowed you to like put loops together and make beats and record and shit. So, you know, I at the time I'm Dominican and Puerto Rican. You know, my mom is Dominican. At that time, ordering anything off the internet for a Hispanic mom was like it was like you don't do that. You know what I mean? So
Right,
like
right.
so I took my mom's, you know, debit card without her knowing and I ordered this CD-ROM because it was like 20
Okay. Yeah.
She didn't notice, and yeah, the rest is history. I just fucking zoned in, didn't have nothing else to do. Started making my own beats and recording my own songs, and then showing it to friends in school. And then some people were like, "Yo, this is actually kind of dope,"
Hmm.
even though it was terrible. And I kept at it throughout my whole high school journey, and eventually after high school, I knew I wasn't going to go to college, but a homie of mine, when I was taking like a year to like figure out what I was going to do after high school, a homie of mine hit me up and was like, yo, I don't know if you know this, but they have schools where you can go to learn like music and engineering and production and all this stuff. And to me it was
Right.
like foreign. I was like, I didn't even know they had that shit. So long story short, I end up moving to New York to go to the Institute of Audio Research, which from there I would say that's where I really started to like master the craft of like producing, engineering, writing, you know, making songs. And it took me a long time, you know, to like get to a place where I felt like I could actually do this for a living.
Mhm.
So that's how I
That's
got my start.
dope. Yeah, that's dope. And so you were out there in New York, performing or doing any like open mics, things like that during your school, or
Yeah,
did you?
there was this there was this like show, not to cut you off, my bad.
No, no, you good. Yeah.
There was a show at this place, this venue called the Pyramid Club. Uh and it's like an iconic venue, I think, like an underground venue. But this one show, it was called the Boot Camp. And like
Right.
it were like the host was like the whole theme was you come up here to perform to like get your chops up. It's like fucking going away to like basic training in the army
Right.
for like artists. And so they would be super like critical, super harsh. If you weren't rapping loud enough and nobody could hear your vocals, they would just like trash you type of shit. So I did a couple
Right.
of those. I did some like showcases and shit, but I really at that time, I lived there for a year at that time. I really just, immersed myself in the culture, but mostly just focused on the craft of like making songs, like producing. So I was mostly
Hmm.
locked up in my apartment producing, and then every now and then I would go out to like shows and shit like that.
Right, right. That's dope. I mean, your journey's taking you all over. What brought you to LA? How
Um,
because you said you've been out here almost 10 years, right? So
yeah, eight years now, going on 9.
was it the industry that brought you out, or
So
do
it
you
was
look
like
at I want to change the scenery?
it was kind of like two things. Like the first thing that happened was I had an A&R from Atlantic Records reach out to me through email because he was like watching my
Dope.
SoundCloud for months. So at this point in time, this is 2017, early 2017. I had been dropping a song every week for like months, and this
Word.
sends me an email. He's like, "Yo, I'm an A&R at Atlantic. I've been watching your SoundCloud for like 6 months. Like you're super consistent. I'd love to get you in the studio to write if you're ever in LA." And I had never
Hmm.
been to LA. I was like, I mean, I thought it was a scam. Long
Right.
story short, I'm like, yo, let's jump on the phone to see if it's real. It turned out to be real. Dude
Hmm.
was like, yo, if you ever come out to LA, like I'm gonna plug you in to some studio sessions to write and shit. So let me know.
Right.
Well, I kind of kept that in the back of my head. That wasn't my reason to move to LA, but um my boy was like doing this thing where he traveled around the world for 12 months, and every month he would spend a month living in a major city. So like he went literally all over the world, and then when he came back, he was like, yo, like let's catch up. And I'm like, cool, slide through the studio. So we caught up, and he was like, man, I kind of feel like you hit a glass ceiling being here, doing everything that you could do. At this point in time,
Right.
I had already put together a regional tour for myself.
Dope. Okay.
I had already like been doing everything you could do as an independent artist to hustle to get like your city, your home behind your back,
Yeah.
create noise and all this shit. But in Atlantic City, that all those neighboring towns like Southern New Jersey, the closest thing to there being a scene was Philly and New York, and that was like too far for me.
Right. Right.
So I kind of just took his conversation and was like, you know what? Sometimes you do gotta like just roll the dice and just shake shit up and see what happens.
Hmm.
So the very next day, I hit my girl at the time, and I was like, yo, we moving to New York. I mean to LA. Uh,
Hmm.
let me know what you think. Da 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 da. And literally 2 months later, like we just fucking packed up a minivan and drove across the country. And
Yeah.
the stars kind of aligned in certain like detailed aspects. Like my younger brother had been living out here, and his lease was up, and it just so happened to be at the same time that
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's
yo, you looking for an apartment, instead of getting a 1 bedroom, why don't you get a 2 bedroom, and then we could all roommate and shit. It all
right.
just kind of lined up like that.
That's dope.
And I kind of feel like when you're on a path and shit, and you're like you're not sure of what how things might pan out, like you'll get these like little moments of like there's no way this shit would just come together if it wasn't meant for me to do this, you know what I mean? So like
True.
had it been something where it was like, bro, like ain't no way I can make it out there, like da 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 da, then I probably wouldn't have came, but things lined up, and then I've been here ever since, and I've been in like the West Hollywood area.
Hmm.
So I kind of was like really exposed to like the whole Melrose and like Fairfax, like
Yeah.
hype beast culture, and like it kind of was like
Right.
it was a cool introduction to LA for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where a lot of the cultural stuff used to go down. You know what I'm
Yeah, yeah,
saying? Until recently and stuff. 'Cause, I mean, that's where I come from and stuff. I'm from like where all the black people at. Baldwin, Windsor Hill, Ladera, all
yeah.
that, Lamert, all that. I'm from Inglewood, but yeah, I used to work over there for ages. You know what
Oh,
I'm
word.
saying? Yeah, Flight Club and
Okay.
Sporty. I worked all over there since like 2000s. But yeah, I mean, a lot of those things, I could definitely relate to that, and I think cats should know that, because a lot of people are scared to take those steps, because they don't know where it leads, and
Yeah.
um, you hamper yourself sometime when it's about just taking a gamble. That's why I love a lot of my East Coast homies, because that takes a lot to just be like, yo, I'm about to hop in the car and just roll out to LA,
It really
yo.
does, man. I
We
met a
here, so we take it
yeah.
for granted. But
Yeah, I met a homie out here. He's from LA, and the first time we met, he was like, "Yo, I got a lot of respect for people that move out here, because like it takes a certain kind of like hustle to just be like, yo,
yeah,
I'm gonna just do it." You know what I mean? And like I know how much a support system can impact what you're doing. Like when you got family, you got friends, you're going through something, or something happens, you're going through a rough patch. Like when you could call somebody and be like, yo, my car just got towed, can you scoop me? Or like da 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 da
right,
da. When you got that, you kind of, it makes the journey a little bit easier to navigate. Not to say that
true.
people have it made, but like it makes you have a support system. So like coming out here, it does require you to kind of like play at a different level, because how many people have you met that moved to LA and then 6 months later they're like,
I
bruh,
gotta go back.
had to pack it
Yeah,
up. I mean, like,
right. 2, 3 years, LA be whooping your ass, right?
yeah, bro.
But I know a lot of people within like 3 months they come out here, they get a spot, they get a chick, or
Yeah.
whatever. They get a significant other, and they post it up in the spot, that
Yeah.
quick. So I have
Yeah.
a job, whatever. So I mean, it is about the hustle and taking advantage of stuff while you out here. You got a taste of the industry, right?
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
that you wrote for a few artists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little? What that experience was like, and a couple of people you wrote for, or who you was working with?
For sure. So when I came to LA, that A&R that I thought was a scammer ended up
Right,
ended up being one of the realest industry people I've met to date. Like we're still homies, and he still will like, you know,
dope.
alley oop some plays. You know what I mean? Because like he sees like the hunger, the consistency, the dedication, and like
Mm-hmm.
he kept his word. Within the first week of being in LA, I was at Atlantic Records main studio writing for their top hip hop A&R, and like I was writing there for like 3-4 months. And once you're in the writing world, it's a whole like little mini industry within itself. So
Right.
like it's a small world too. So like once you kind of like start to get around, people start asking you to come write for other sessions and other artists and other projects and other albums.
Mm-hmm.
And so I fell into that world fairly early being in LA. And I would say for that first 2 years, I did a ton of writing sessions. And one thing kind of led to the other. Eventually, in one of those writing sessions, I was offered a deal with a JV imprint under a big producer that partnered with a major, and
Right,
I
right.
ended up being signed, and that enabled me to meet producers that were also on the label that we did shit, and they kept sending that record out for like 3 years, even
Right.
even after I left the label. And one thing turned into the other. I eventually landed. I wrote this record that landed on a new artist that had gone viral, and she was signed to 10K projects. And
Okay.
it was just like one of them things like, yo, we got this session for this new artist. Can you come through? We're working on her debut album mixtape. And I'm like, yeah, I pull up, write, some other people in the room and shit like that. And then a couple months
Mhm.
later, it's like, yo, this track made the cut. Um, so that was like my first placement with this artist, Kiara Love, who had gone viral after doing like a Bodak Yellow freestyle that like Cardi B reposted, as far
Right,
as
right.
something like that. So that came and went. And then a couple years later, like literally last year, I think it was, one of those producers that I met like 5 years ago had still been shopping around a record that that was actually an original completely of mine. All he did was reproduce the beat with another homie and
Mm-hmm.
pitched the song around, and eventually it landed with this new artist group under Atlantic called Flyana Boss, and
Okay.
they've been doing their thing. So yeah, I've been in a lot of rooms. I've written with a lot of people. I've written with like Leon Thomas, who's having a big moment right now. I've written
Right.
with like some pretty big people, but I say all of that to say that um the writing game is not for me. I'm an artist, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you kind of waste a lot of material as a writer if you don't approach it the right way. The way
Right.
that most writing trajectories work is that you basically just write a bunch of shit over a bunch of other big producers beats, and it just sits and sits and sits until you hit the lottery, right?
Yeah.
uh, but the smart way, I think, as a writer to do it, now that I've gained all that experience, because I have a folder of like over 70 songs that will never come out because they're over fucking producers beats that I can't afford even if I wanted to drop the song
Right.
myself, you know what I mean? Not yet, at
Right.
least. But so now it's like, make your records and put them out and then offer them, because my second writing placement was a song that I dropped in 2017 before I even moved to LA. and
Right.
and in 2024
That's
that
dope.
record got picked up by Atlantic, you know what I mean? So like, you just never fucking know. And that song was out already, so that had lived
Right.
its own had its own life before it even came out under a major label.
Yeah.
So I think, or at the very least, make records, send them out, pitch them, but then give yourself a time frame. Be like, yo, if this don't get picked up in 6 months or a year, I'm gonna
Reverse
just
back.
out myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in a
Oh,
way,
go ahead. Yeah.
you kind of create a demand, a supply and demand too, because if people start to realize that, yo, damn, Kev is sending these records. If we don't do something with it within 4 6 months, like this shit's gone forever, and this could be a
Right.
big thing. So that's how I tend to look at it now.
That's dope. It gives them a little more, it makes it a little more business and puts a little more emphasis on it, instead of just holding on to it for years, because they will if they can.
Yeah,
So that's dope, and that's great advice for people getting into it, on how to look at it a good way, because especially nowadays, writers are sometimes the last to get paid out of everybody and stuff. So just all this stuff that goes into it. So that was what I was actually going to ask next, was whether you prefer the writing or the artist, if you prefer other. But it's obvious, I could tell, that the artistry is what you're about, and letting people know about Kev Decor. So speaking of that, I mean, what a thing we talk about with a lot of artists on here, is basically what's like a quick, starter pack. What's like a good 3 songs you got on your Spotify right now, or that you just released? I know you just dropped a recent project, that people could check out and listen to, that just gives them a good idea what Kev Decor is about.
yeah. If you want to get a super fast, you know,
Right,
uh, all right, what can this artist do? I would say Red String Theory is a good starting place, because it shows my penmanship, it shows my commercial uh, accessibility as a writer, and it shows my production ability as well. And it just kind of, it's like a nice little package. It's one song,
right,
but it kind of shows you like, all right, this guy can flow, he's got melody, he can write stuff that is layered but also has
mhm,
commercial appeal, and it's been a popular track of mine. And it's also, earned me a Rolling Stone mention. So
that's always good.
that's a good
Yeah,
little like introduction. Now, if you want to dive deeper into the artist and what does a body of work sound like and what is the spectrum of this artist, I would say my last album, it's called Ectasis, and it
mhm,
kind of encompasses everything: my rap, my backpack rapper bag, my producer bag, my melodic bag, and my body of work bag. You know what I mean? So like, you kind of get a taste of like what I can do when it comes to a body of work.
right. Yeah, and I
And
mean all of. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
sorry, that album and then the previous album called About That Time, because they're kind of both like encapsulations of like periods of my life, but they're also released like a year and a half apart or 2 years apart. So like it's a good, like, all right, if you listen to Ecdysis, you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
About That Time though is a classic in my humble opinion. So
that's dope. Hey, talk your stuff, you know. And I mean that's dope that people get to see that progression you're talking about, right? And I
yeah.
mean, break down the meaning of that last album real quick. What is it you said?
So
Exodus,
Ecdysis is the
Exodus, yeah.
ecdysis is actually the it's a biological, it's a term in biology. It's the process of a snake or reptilian animals shedding their skin. So
Okay.
it's symbolic because I'm also in the Chinese zodiac. I'm a snake.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's kind of on a spiritual tip. It's me shedding all my old ways and the person that I used to be and truly becoming a new person, because I had also gone through some major life changes during that time period. I had, moved on from a long term relationship. I had moved into a new place, living on my own, um,
Mm-hmm.
navigating the industry in new
Right.
ways. You know what I mean? Just like really pouring into myself. So it was truly a reflection of where I was, and then also as a bonus layer to all that, these were songs that I actually had held on to for some time for whatever reason. So it was also like me being like, yo, I got all these songs that kind of tell a story, and I don't want to just have them just sit here and collect dust and never be heard. Let me
Right.
just put them together, put a story together, add a couple new joints in there, and boom, on to the next.
Right. And I mean, you got a deep catalog now, right?
Yeah,
You
man.
know, you was definitely pushing out a song. You said what, every week or?
So I did a song a week for like 3 years, 2.5 years, and then I did a song a day for 284 days, so a couple months. And I
Speak
stopped.
on that. Yeah, what was the method? I mean, what was the motive behind that? And you ain't
Yeah,
gotta, you know, you keep it a little short because that's a lot to put
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah, yeah.
284 in a day. But I'm very interested to hear how were you able to amass all that and be able to stick to that schedule? Was it
Yeah.
difficult? Was it,
It was, it
speak a
was,
little on that.
it was difficult. I'll keep it short. Basically, at the time, there was like three contributing factors. At the time, YouTube had a YouTube University section on their website if you had a YouTube
Right.
channel.
Yeah.
So in that thing, there was book recommendations on how to become a better content creator. And one of the books that was recommended was called The Compound Effect. So the
Hmm.
compound effect, I read like the summary and shit. And it was basically talked about how like results will start to compound in anything you do. Studies show if you do it like frequently, consistently for an extended period of time. Then there was this Gary V clip that was like, yo, there's gonna be an artist who fucking drops a song every day. He's gonna be the biggest artist in the world. Just watch.
Hmm.
Uh, and it was a clip with Nipsey, and I, at the time I was watching Gary V, and I was like, yo, I produce my own shit. I got all the gear.
Right.
I am actually only doing music 100% right now. I have
Hmm.
a situation where I can do that. Like, there's no reason why I can't wake up, make a beat, write, record, mix it up
Right.
real quick. I do my own graphic design, do the cover art, put it out, and do this shit. If this is gonna change my life and my family's life, I'm willing to sacrifice everything I got to do this shit. So,
Wow.
so that's what I did, and that was actually the thing that caught the attention of the A&R at the label that I signed to. My brother, who was my manager at the time, was working the door at a bar, EP and LP in West Hollywood.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So one night, this huge producer and his A&Rs and shit are pulling up, and the dude's trying to get into the door. My brother's like, "Yo, it's gonna be a couple hundred, because that's the
Yeah.
house." You know what I mean, so like the dude is like, bro, like, come on, I'm with my boss, da 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 da. So he's like, I manage an artist. Give me an email, and you good.
Oh,
So
okay.
he was kind of like brushing it off, but my brother
Right.
was like, he's dropping a song every day. He's been doing it for like a couple months now, and the dude was like, "What?" So like
Right.
that was kind of like, what you mean he's dropping a song every day? So long story short, he sends him a couple tracks at like 3 in the morning. Da 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 da. He hits him back. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yo, let's get him in the studio." Blah 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 blah. So
Mm-hmm.
so I stopped eventually because eventually I was writing for the label and dropping a song every day. So I would go to the
Right.
studio for like 6 hours at the label, do their shit
Yeah.
real quick, whip something up, put it out. And then eventually, once they offered me a situation, I was like, all right, well, I mean, this is what I was doing this for, to change my
Mm-hmm.
situation. Only thing is that that situation ended up not being the situation that I
Right.
hoped that it would be. But everything
Right.
happens for a reason. So a year later, I exited that deal and decided to go back at it independent.
That, hey, but that's a great story, you know what I'm saying? And it did take you, you know, further on your journey and stuff. That
It did.
shows hustle, you know what I'm saying? And that speaks to a lot of artists. Not, I hope artists is listening to that because it speaks to not saying you got to do the exact same thing, but you need to do something to
Yeah,
stick
you
out
got to do something, man. You
in
got
all
to.
the white noise today. Yeah. I think that's amazing, bro. And that takes a lot of creativity, but what's great is that you have this all, and have you uploaded? How deep is your catalog right now on streaming and stuff?
Right now, I think we got about 300 songs published
So, yeah,
that are like available. If it's not 300, it's between 250 and 300. But we're also in the process of like reorganizing the catalog. So by
yeah,
the time we're back up to like everything that was released, we should be close to 400. So I have
that's dope.
officially released like over 430 songs over the years.
That's dope. And that's taking that free knowledge and applying it. You know that
Yeah.
there's a lot of dope books like that. Purple Cow is like that and
Yeah,
stuff
Purple Cow is
too.
amazing. I love Seth
Great
Godin.
book. Yeah,
Love
amazing short book where it's just like, oh, okay. And in another way, that's kind of what I tell cats too. It has to be a quantity of quality, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's fire. I think Cash should definitely hit you and just watch you on what you're doing on that and on
I
your hustle
appreciate
and stuff in addition to the music. Let's talk a little quick about what you got coming in the future and stuff. We just had you at Payday
yeah.
earlier this month during BT Wars weekend. We had a dope little showcase. You came out there, brought your drum machine and all that. You know, how has it been performing lately? I know you've been rocking all over the city and stuff. So,
Yeah,
what do you have planned for the future, and how has it been performing lately?
it's been great. Performing is one of my all-time favorite things to do, but I haven't had a lot of opportunities to do it. And part of that has
Hmm.
been on me as a perfectionist. But my goal this year at the top of the year was to get back on the stage and um master the craft of the performance. You know what I mean? Like performing is just like making songs and songwriting and rapping, and how you got to
True.
master the craft of the flow and your pen game. The stage is a whole different side of that. You know what I mean? So like it's its own thing, and some artists neglect that, and that's how you end up with the people just singing over their own vocals and not actually
Right.
show together. So it's been amazing. It's been amazing. It's been also like not, it's been a little scary too, because like, you know, at Payday, it was an amazing set, but I'm the kind of artist that leaves and I'm like, I could have done that shit better.
Right.
I could have did this. I fucked up here. I didn't do this there. Like, so I'm constantly self-correcting and self-analyzing, because my legacy for me is to become one of the greats. You know what I mean? Like that's
Hmm.
my goal. Whether I become successful in the business or not, for me, it's about just becoming the best artist and making the best art and live show that I can. So it's been great. It's been hard, but it's been a fun ride. Getting out there and performing again, because I feel like performing is also one of my strengths. So I'm excited to also try to like become that purple cow as well on the stage.
Right. Right. I mean, you definitely dope, and I like how you brought the different aspects of it. Of bringing the gear on stage and
Yeah,
showcasing those different aspects. And I'm definitely sure that it's only a matter of time on that. So
appreciate
I
that.
wouldn't even I wouldn't even trip on that. It's just doing the right shows and
Yeah,
you know building
chess.
that up every time. Right.
But
Right.
that's where Payday LA, bro. Like I initially found out about you guys through one of my homies. I went to his show and I
Word.
was like, yo, this is whoever's running this is a tight ship. Like this
Right.
is like
Right.
really some whoever's behind this understands and respects the artistry, the business, and quality control. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like I commend you for however long and whatever journey you've been on to get to this point. Like it's not like you deserve your flowers, bro, because like
I appreciate it.
you're really doing something that um is like necessary for the big artists of tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you don't go from obscurity to fucking, the fucking crypto arena, like
Right.
forum. You go from obscurity to a showcase and open mic, and then you get into like the serious platforms like
Mhm.
Payday LA, where like you go there and the talent that's there is like steel sharpens steel. Like you
Yeah.
leave and you're like, I gotta step my game up. You know what I mean? Because these niggas are
Right.
bringing
Right.
this shit. You know what I mean? So like,
Right. That's what I was trying to bring about, because when I was popping it, we were able to rock every week, around LA, whether it was paid or free, but and you got around those like-minded artists and like I think we talked about that before. You just found out everybody kind of knew each other, or it was like,
mhm,
oh, I was hoping I'll meet this producer here or this
yeah,
artist, and they start working together and stuff. And I
yeah,
mean, it's been crazy to see cats like, Coast Contra, for example. They rocked with us, and it was like maybe 2, 3 months later. They rocked with us maybe three times, but after that third time, they rocked with us, and 3 months later, they were doing Hollywood Bowl and
wow,
world touring, and was out of here. That video went viral, and it was out of here. And that goes for a lot of artists and stuff, and that's what we hope to try to do, because I had that opportunity. The blog shit was wide open, so we had a lot of those opportunities where it wasn't so industry. So somebody like yourself could see that and be like, oh, I want
yeah,
to go where it's at right now, and I can still do my shit. But the creativity I love without all the bug,
yeah,
is in the air. So I definitely want to thank you for coming through.
for
We
sure.
definitely gonna have you back on very, very soon. So I need everybody to go check out Kev right now. We got a few songs on the Payday playlist. Go follow him on Spotify, all streaming platforms. Let them know where they can find you real quick or what you got popping coming up.
For sure. Thank you for having me first and foremost. It's been a pleasure and an honor. You're a solid dude with great things going on. You can find me anywhere at Kev Decor. You could just search me up, KevDecor. And I got a lot of cool things in the works. My team and I have been hard at work putting the puzzle pieces together, because at this, you get to a certain stage in your career where if it doesn't move the needle forward, then it doesn't make sense, and you're not being a responsible business man or woman. So rest assured that whatever we got coming in the pipeline, which is some really cool stuff for this summer, is going to be solid, and it's going to be a real treat. So yeah.
No, we're looking forward to it, man.